Hi, my name is Ryan Levan, and I'm doing the impact of the pandemic on the U.S. economy. The pandemic begins. So the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic. The first thing that happened was hospitals began to be overwhelmed. People were very fearful of the COVID-19 disease. They didn't really know what to expect because they didn't really know the symptoms, because the symptoms were unclear, because it was just like a cold or a flu, and they didn't really know the effects and how bad it could turn up on you. So hospitals started getting overwhelmed, and hospitals would push aside people with more serious injuries like heart attack, cancer patients, or broken bones for the people who had cold-like symptoms or COVID-19 symptoms as well. The doctors also did not have the proper equipment nationwide because COVID-19 happened so quickly that, that people did not have the right equipment. So overall, the government launched a stay-at-home orders so the pandemic did not spread and so everyone could be at home. They did not want you to leave your house unless it was for something very important and essential needs, and people had to do work and school from their house. So the shutdown starts. So companies required employees to work from home. Um, Schools made plans to teach remotely, and through work or school, the main thing they used was the online Zoom platform, and Zoom became a huge tool that was utilized during the pandemic because this was the main way that you could still have class or talk about things face to face, but be online. Social distancing and wearing masks were required in public because this was the at the time the most um, efficient way, but no one really knew because this was a new thing. This was the most efficient way at the time to deal with it. So flattening the curve. So the world experienced months of lockdown. Not only the U.S. but the whole world experienced lockdown, um, and countries closed their borders. So the airports were shut down, businesses were shut down. This led to significant job losses. Um, Sporting events were canceled, so there's no money flow um, in the country and all over the world, and our economy virtually stopped because of the pandemic. So on this graph, it just on the y-axis it shows the cases per million, and on the x-axis it shows the date. So as you could see, on January 20th, there's around nothing, and then it started spiking up and it just kept going up. January 21st, you see a little bit spike there, and then October 21st and on, the cases per million gradually, well, rapidly increased. The government decided to develop a vaccine. The vaccine was needed because no one really knew how long this was going to last or how long this was going on. So all the scientists were forced to rush into experimental data and develop the COVID vaccine. This was the COVID-19 was taking a very heavy role on our economy and people. So all the scientists were forced into research and tried to develop a vaccine in a short amount of time that would usually take much longer than they did. U.S. government had to do something to make sure the economy was back up and business was running again. Our economy was almost for 2 years a complete stop. This is unheard of other than the Great Depression era. So what the government decided doing is they started giving families monthly checks depending on their financial status or how many people they had in the family. And Congress introduced a bill for 4 trillion bailout packages, just distributing back to the families who needed it and were unemployed or were struggling during this time. This is just a graph of the well, every country, but mostly, as you can see, the United States put the most money back into the economy to help out the country. So the stimulus packages, millions of families were without any income, so something had to be done immediately. No one knew what stimulus packages were, of course, because this was the first time that this was happening, and the economy has never been through this before in many years. So the stimulus packages were based on eligibility. So one of the stimulus packages that were given out was called the CARES Act. This was started on March 27th, 2020, and this package allowed $1,200 per individual and $2,400 per married couple, and for children under the age of 17, you were also given $500. This was another stimulus package that was given out. It was called the COVID Relief Act. This was started on December 27th, 2020, just like the other one, but a little bit different. It was $600 per individual and $1,200 per married couple, and $600 were given out for children under the age of 17. Did the stimulus packages help overall? This is a very controversial topic, but many say that our current high inflation was due to the stimulus checks that were distributed by the government. Almost all families received the money, whether or not they needed it. Some paid off their debt rather than putting it back to the economy, and other people used it to put it back in the economy, and people who really needed it. A lot of people say inflation may be the result of the difficulty in getting products imported from all over the world. Everyone was going through this pandemic, so it was very hard to ship things in and out of the country. Overall, the stimulus packages did help for the families that needed it, but for the families that didn't put that money back into the economy, inflation rose. So how did our economy recover? So the pandemic obviously took a tremendous toll on our economy, but now job growth is at an all-time high. Inflation is beginning to come down. Consumers are spending more and more, and the holiday shopping season is approaching, which always means that spending will go up as well. And experts anticipate that by the mid 2023, that the U.S. economy should be back to normal, just like before COVID even began. So our economy anticipated will be back to where it always was, and it could always go up for there. So thank you.